Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Hello.
Shall we say, you've nailed it. You say that. Professor. Prosecution. When you're in
So you're gonna, so you're gonna relax and you're gonna cook your little black pudding, your little dish, your little dark to
it's one
yourself.
thing when you have a cancel culture, it's another when you have a cancel
And I wish she should have do.
Good evening. Can you just, Ms. Jordan, can you just mute yourself?
Particularly the ones who are
Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Just want to give you some updates, team, as people start to come in. So today we're slated for 3 applications. One of our applications, Autumn Bar and Grill, which is located at 629 Vanderbilt. We have to table that one because we don't have an application and there isn't a posting. They're actually not ready. I went over there today to check on the posting and it just happened to be coming in and out of their establishment. So they're not prepared. So we won't be hearing from them today. So we have 2 others, Brooklyn Waffle House and Kay's Empire Events LLC. Are those 2 proprietors here with us this evening?
Yes, we are. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, so who's Brooklyn Waffle House?
Uh,
Who's representing?
Eon Charles.
Eon?
Yeah.
Okay, and for Kay's Empire, would that be you, Mr. Carabello?
Yes, it is. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay. Is the owner here?
Yes, I just spoke to her a couple of moments ago, Nicole. She was attempting to log on, so it should be any second.
Shortly. Okay, thank you. Mr. Wittowak.
Yeah, I just wanted to observe, thanks, about Autumn. There was a 500-foot hearing notice in the Dropbox.
Yes.
So they've already applied to the SLA.
Their application is not in as I spoke to them today. So I don't know. I specifically spoke to them about the process. So you received that information as I did, as everybody did, but they haven't filled out the application. They're not prepared. They don't have anything. They didn't even know they're supposed to be here this evening.
But what I'm saying is if they already have a 500-foot notice from the SLA, maybe we should say something about them tonight. Maybe they didn't know about us, but that doesn't mean that we don't know about them, you know?
Well, if you have something to speak on that, you're welcome to. That's the information that I got this evening, that they don't have any information. Yeah,
I'm sure they're both right. That they may not have known about us, but we maybe should make the SLA aware that we haven't heard them, just in case they go ahead with anything in our absence.
Okay, absolutely. So we can do this. So we will table, and we can also send a letter, some correspondence with regard to their appearance this evening. Okay. So we're going to begin. Mr. Witherwax, can you check to see where we are with our quorum, please?
Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're close. Let me call the roll and see.
Okay.
Gail Branch Mohammed, Diane Duke, James Ellis, Tamika Gibbs.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Jordan.
Present.
Thank you. Zerzima Jordan.
Present.
Thank you. Oliver Hart. Mimi Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you. Roger Myers. Dior Ortiz Joyner.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Puca. Celine Rosado.
Present.
Thank you. Brian Saunders. Mark Thurton.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ethel Tias.
Present.
Thank you. Gib Vaconi. Irsa Weatherspoon.
Here.
Sharon, thank you. Sharon Wedderburn.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax present. Deborah Young.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Yep, we're good.
Excellent. Welcome everybody to the SLA committee meeting. I'm Irsa Weatherspoon. And this evening, as I mentioned, there are 3 applications. Autumn Bar and Grill, which Mr. Witherwax has mentioned that we have the 50-foot rule notice that we received in a Dropbox. I actually spoke with them today, and they were not prepared at all. So, and didn't know about their appearance today, and they're still putting their stuff together. So I got that. I actually saw them probably about an hour ago. We also have Brooklyn Waffle House, so we can go over that application. And here with us, we have Eon.
Yes.
Okay, give us 1 second. Let me just pull up your application. Okay. So we have Ian Charles as the principal applicant, doing business for corporation name Brooklyn Waffle House, located at 742 Nostrand Avenue, between the streets of Park and Sterling. This is a restaurant bar seeking a full liquor license. In terms of methods of operations, you've checked off that you'll be having a DJ, indoor service, 8 tables, number of seats at each table, 2 or 3. Can you give us the total number of your seats at your tables, please?
I got 2, 3 3-seaters. 4 2-seaters.
Okay, so what's your total? Do you have it? Do you have it written down so we
Yeah.
would know?
It's supposed to be 20 seats. I sent in the application. I should have kept. Maybe I could go back into the application and get the exact amount.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll just move on. You have 1 bar, 3 seats to the bar. Maximum capacity is 24
Yes.
seats. Okay, so now we are going to your hours of service. So you have right across the board, Sunday through Saturday, 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Correct?
12.
You have a
Supposed to
12
be-
here.
Yeah, 12 p.m.
Everything here says 1 p.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay.
Sunday through Saturday. Okay, no outdoor service. You will not have any music, sound, and entertainment. No amplified sound, no soundproofing. Your staff and security is comprised of 1 cook, 1 prep cook, 1 dishwasher, 1 line cook, 1 cashier, 2 servers. And that would be 7. In terms of the residences in the building where your business will be located, you have 3. And neither left, right, or rear of your business do you have residents, correct?
Yeah, I don't have any resident.
Okay. So you have your certificate of occupancy, excuse me, that you've included, and you have a rough sketch of your restaurant's footprint. The one thing that is missing that I didn't see this evening was your notice to the public. It's not listed.
I send the pictures are supposed to be in the package.
Okay. I mean, it's not there now. It's not. I see the pictures. I don't know what date that was, but I'm just letting you know that this evening, there were no postings. So just so you know,
What
I
you
do
mean
see you have.
there was no posting?
There was no posting to the community to let the folks know that you would be here this evening. It's not on your gate. Your gate is down, and it's not on the gate as of
Oh, it's on
hours
the
so ago.
it's on the glass. I had the gate. The gate had a malfunction this morning, so I had to get someone to
Oh, okay. So it's behind the gate.
Yeah, it's
That's
on the
not
glass.
working.
I
Okay.
couldn't even open today.
I understand. Okay, so I believe the committee has seen the package. I will just ask our committee members if they have any questions. Committee? Okay.
I have one question.
Right.
It's Celine. Is this for Waffle House?
Yes.
Hi, and will you be participating in the Merchant Association on Nostrand?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question or a comment for this establishment?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can you just repeat the hours?
Sure. We have it listed as 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the application. Miss Gibbs?
Good evening. Will there be
Good evening.
any outside promoters at this venue or just a restaurant with a DJ?
Can you just repeat that because I didn't hear it clearly?
I'm
Miss Gibbs?
sorry.
That's good.
Will you be having outside promoters at this venue, at this restaurant, or you'll just be having your regular? I'm assuming that your DJ is regular, part of business. I'm sorry. Did you
Mr.
understand the
Charles?
question?
No.
No, I
Did you hear Mr. Charles?
Yeah, I don't have any outside promoters. The DJ is just would be. It's not something permanent either.
Okay.
Like it's not.
Thank
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Young?
Yes, I believe you said that the starting hours was going to be at 1 p.m. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
What about us folks that like breakfast at earlier?
No, the breakfast part starts at 8, but the serving of alcohol will start from like 1
Oh,
p.m.
okay. I just wanted to check. And I also wanted to let you know that one day I was walking and I did stop in there, and I want to tell you that your staff was very warm and welcoming, and I appreciated that. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tyus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify my understanding of what's on the application. For hours of service, alcohol service is till 11 p.m. on the application, but actually the request should be midnight. Is that correct?
Yeah, 12 p.m. Yeah, it should. You said the request should be midnight, right?
I'm asking.
No, because I close at 11 p.m.
You're closing at 11. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Thurton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many days a week are you going to have the DJ?
Well, if the DJ would be like on weekends, Saturday or Sunday, but it's not something that is set in stone or something that it would be permanently, just like, maybe if it's a Mother's Day or something like that, certain events, I'll have the DJ just to play music, but not too loud, just to entertain the patrons.
Thank you. Ms. Gibbs, you have another question? You have another question, Ms. Gibbs? Your hand is still up.
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to take it down now.
Oh, okay. No problem. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing nor hearing none, can we have a motion for this application, please?
I make
I
a,
move we support the application as written.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Tice and Ms. Young. Mr. Witherwax, can you do the roll call, please, to vote?
Certainly. Gail Branch Mohammed.
Yes.
Diane, oh, thank you. Diane Duke. James Ellis. Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Zerzima Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Oliver Hart. Mimi Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you. Roger Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. Fiora Ortiz Joyner.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Kuka. Celine Rosado.
Yes.
Thank you. Brian Saunders. Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tias. Ms. Tias.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Viconi.
Present.
I
Thank
take
you.
that's a
Yrsa
yes.
Witherspoon. I'll take it as an abstain. It's not going to affect things. Yrsa Witherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Sharon Wedderburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax, yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 13 in favor, 1 present. Brooklyn Waffle House, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. I just want to remind you that we will be having our full board meeting at the actually next week, Thursday at 6:15 p.m. Excuse me. Does anyone know where we're going to be having our meeting, board meeting?
Well, it was at Weeksville.
Weeksville. Okay.
Yes.
Weeksville. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So we'll see you then. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Charles. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Next up will be Kay's at Troy Avenue, please. Is the owner here? I know the representative is, but is the owner here?
Yes, I am.
Anthony Caraballo, representative, and the applicant is Nicole Nicholson. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm just going to pull up your application. Okay. All right. So we have, as stated, Nicole Nicholson, who's present with us at Kay's Empire Events LLC, located at 267 Troy Avenue between Lincoln and St. John's Place. This is a catering establishment seeking a full liquor license. You've checked off that you'll be having various entertainment, live music, patron dancing, third-party promoters occasionally, and you also make sure that security personnel is on board as needed. I guess those are 2 things that you added. Okay, so in terms of the indoor service, 6 tables, total of 60 seats to those tables, 2 bars, 4 seats at the bar. So I do have a question with your 2 bars.
Sure.
The 4 seats, is that at each bar?
Yeah, it's speculated right now. It's projected. So they're very small bars. And again, this is not open to the public. So this is a catering event space, and they'll probably be operational only 2 or 3 days a week. So the plan now is to have 4 stools at the bars, but that's not etched in stone.
Okay, all right, thank you. And
Thank you.
your intended hours of service? Sure. You have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m., Friday and Saturday from 12 p.m. to 4 a.m. There will not be any outdoor service. And just pass, let's see. And you'll have, you will have some entertainment, DJ recorded music, karaoke, and live music, some of which you mentioned earlier. There will be amplified sound, 700 watts, 4 to 6 inch and 2 to 8 inch speakers, first floor ceiling mounted. And you will have soundproofing, which would consist of sidewalls, solid concrete, extra bass soundproofing installed on the ceiling. In terms of your staff and security, you'll have 4 to 8 employees, servers, food preparers, and bartender. With regard to number of security personnel, you listed 1 to 4 is needed, and your plan of supervision is attached. So, as we have stated, it's a catering facility. Your earliest event can begin at 12 p.m. and end at 4 a.m. You have mentioned already about your bar space and seating, the tables, all of that we've already said. Your total maximum capacity is at 74. And the question, what is the maximum capacity you will allow for your event, is 68. So it's a shade under what the capacity calls for. So we do see that your supervision plan, all staff will be properly trained to obtain correct and legal identification of patrons ordering any alcoholic beverages. All staff will be properly trained to identify if a patron is visibly intoxicated and can no longer be served alcohol. Third, there will be a staff member responsible to consistently monitor the exterior of the premises to ensure there are no disturbances. 4, there will be a camera system with multiple cameras on the entire premises with remote access. And lastly, the applicant will also hire security guards as needed. You have also included your certificate of occupancy and a map of where you are located in the community. It's listed active licenses on the premises, liquor, wine, beer is expected. You have manufacturing and wholesale. What does that mean exactly as it relates to what you're seeking?
Yeah, so there's been a restaurant there for the last 20 years, an establishment. It was called Mandela Restaurant. So they made several filings with the DOB in terms of updating the premises with all 2 jobs. So for 2 decades, it's been a restaurant. Ms. Nicholson will go in and see what's necessary to change it to her particular use, which is a catering, not open to the public. And I just wanted to interject quickly for the committee. Basically, the things that we said are available exactly that. So if somebody's throwing a party, they might want a band, they might want a DJ. This is not, it's really dependent on what they want to do. Is if any of you guys had an event, a wedding or an anniversary, you might want to hire a DJ. Some people want a live band. So it all depends on the people that are throwing the party. And also in terms of the hours, she just wants the premises available for those hours. By no means does she anticipate having 7-day operation and extending to those hours. I just wanted to clarify for the committee those points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do see that you have this diagram of the footprint and supporting information. So I'm just going to ask if anyone has any questions with this application. Please raise your hand. Any comments or questions? Ms. Wedderburn?
So I just have a couple of comments. I walked by that space today. It's a very interesting space in that it's on Troy Avenue, the corner of Troy Avenue and the Lincoln Place. So it's a very narrow sidewalk that's adjacent to it. And at the corner, it's an actually the whole street between Troy and St. John's and Lincoln Place could be described as lively. So given that Mandela's, which to me, I didn't think was a full-fledged restaurant, I thought it was more like a steam table kind of service. How are you going to never mind. That's not for me to figure out. That's for you to figure out. But how do you think you're best servicing? How would you market your particular establishment? Is this something that's going to be locally oriented? Are you going to be on social media? Because I wouldn't think to go to a catering hall at that location.
Sure, great question. And I'll have Nicole jump in, but to the best of my knowledge and working with her throughout this process, Nicole's been lived in the area for 30 years. So she's a pretty much almost a lifetime resident there. So she knows a lot of people. She had a restaurant in Bushwick in like 2004. She had experience, a takeout restaurant. So she's a local resident, you know, also looking to open a business in the community where she lives. So I think social media will certainly have an impact. She certainly knows a lot of people. So there are various ways to go about it. Nicole, if you want to jump in, please feel free to do so as well. It was an excellent question.
Yes, thank you, Anthony, and good evening, everyone. All right, so social media would definitely be part of it. Also word of mouth, because I mean, like the last year or so, whatever encouraged me to open something like this, you know, with everything going on, there was a lot of people looking for place for repasts and stuff like that. So I was like, oh wow. So I mean, with that being said, word of mouth, really do think, because from talking to a lot of people, like, oh my God, I'm looking for a space, and you know, this everything is so expensive, everything. So I think that part, I don't think I need too much promotion on social media, but I'm quite sure I'll use that at some point.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mark Thurton has his hand up.
Yeah, I was calling his name. I didn't realize I was muted. Mr. Thurton. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you. This is a change of establishment quite a bit for that area. Have you spoken to the residents directly other than just posting?
Nicole, do you want to address that? I know we did significant posting. We sent stuff into Julia last week. We sent some more stuff in today. So she's definitely posted as required. I don't know in terms of outreach. Nicole, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I spoke to someone, and the owner that was there before, he introduced me to a couple of people in the neighborhood, which I did. There's a daycare across the street, and other like 2 residential place over there and stuff like that. I didn't catch the whole block, but I did have a few people.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't look through the application in depth. Is it on 1 floor or 2 floors that you're going to be having the events on?
First floor and the basement, so 2 floors.
Okay, has the basement been approved as of yet, or are you still trying to get that area?
Still pending, yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, Mr. Thurton, we're in the process. It was a restaurant, but this is not open to the public. So Nicole is in the process of filing appropriate documents at the Department of Buildings.
Great, thank you. Any more questions or comments for this applicant? Ms. Ortiz Joyner.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just a little concerned because for a catering hall with a maximum capacity of 68, that is kind of small. I obviously, you know, some events don't need to be 100 and 200 people, but points of egress, is there just one?
Yeah, I believe, Nicole, and you can jump on this also. I'm taking a peek at the plan as I address this. Yeah, so there is, it's legal in terms of the requirement, because again, there was a restaurant open to the public there for the last 2 decades. So there are, just looking at the basement. Nicole, are there stairs from the basement out as well, like an emergency exit? Yeah, stairs to the street.
Yes.
Okay. So they have the main entrance, which is going to be to the right front. Then there's an additional entrance in the center. So there's 2 points of egress on the first floor on the main entrance. And then in the basement, there are stairs directly to the street and stairs also back up to the first floor.
Thank you. Anything else? Ms. Ortiz, join?
And just looking at when he says that there are stairs that go out directly to, is it in front of the building to the exterior? Is it through the hatch?
Yeah, I think that's to the left. You probably look at the same diagram. So that, yeah, that would be to the hatch. So that probably would not be considered proper egress because that is to the hatch up to the street level. But the first floor has 2 main entrances, and then obviously there's an exit to and from the basement.
Anything further? Ms. Ortiz?
No, Madam Chair, not for me.
Thank you. Ms. Tyus?
Yes, my question is about the catering part of it. I know we're not looking at licensing that, but I just want to understand the business model. So K's is providing the catering service, am I correct?
Correct. So you would have an event, you'd have a repast, unfortunately, you would have an anniversary, you'd have a wedding, have a birthday party, a business function, and you would rent this facility and they would provide, they have an area for food, and food is also predicated on the preference of the person throwing the party. It's probably continental with some ethnic preferences as well. So you would go to this space and have your event, so to speak.
Okay, so there's no service in the basement. The public activity, the guest activity is on the first floor, not in the basement.
No, there is a plan for also service in the basement, but it's nominal. All the tables are on the first floor. The projected tables, by the way, the 1060 is a default setting, so to speak. So they might have a party for 30 people. They might have a party with 60 people. So we gave you the most. And the basement is just basically a bar area, more like a lounge setting, which in a traditional catering hall would be like.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey, listen, quick. I saw
Yes,
what
sir.
you sent
Yes, sir.
me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're
You
not
have to
muted.
mute yourself. Okay.
Sorry. So basically, a lot of catering halls and event spaces have like a cocktail hour, which is maybe drinks and appetizers, and then it goes to the formal sitting portion of the event. So that's probably more or less what the basement's going to be used for. There's no seating down there. It's probably predominantly going to be used in that fashion.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that's all I had.
I'll take it for the moment.
Thank
Mr.
you so
Thurton?
much. Mr. Thurton?
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. I mean, with that basement and one way out and that vault door, you know, that's a major concern. I mean, I'm quite sure it's going to be a major concern for the fire department, and it's a concern for anybody who's going to be down there, who's going to be hanging out and looks for exit. So, you know, that's up to the to approval with the city on that. But in reference to a point of contact, if there's a concern, will you guys be able to give the community a point of contact and just to make sure whatever concerns that the community has is addressed immediately?
Absolutely, Mr. Thurton. Nicole will provide her contact information once she opens the establishment. And since she lives in a neighborhood for 3 decades, she wants to be a good neighbor. She's not coming from a different borough or anywhere else. She actually lives in the area. So it's a primary concern for her.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Thurton?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns for this applicant? Okay, seeing or hearing none, may I please have a motion for the applicant, please? Application.
I move to support. This is Ethel Tyus.
Second, Diane, second.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus. Thank you, Ms. Duke. Mr. Witherwax, can you do the vote, please? Thank you.
Certainly. Gail Branch Mohammed.
Yes.
Thank you. Diane Duke.
Yes.
Thank you. James Ellis. Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Zuzima Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Oliver Hart. Amy Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you. Roger Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. Fior Ortiz Joyner.
Abstain.
Thank you. Robert Puca. Celine Rosado.
Yes.
Thank you. Brian Saunders. Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tias.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Faconi.
Yes.
Thank you. Yrsa Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Sharon Wedderburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax, yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 14 in favor, 1 abstention.
Thank you
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a terrific evening. Thank you.
Before you go, Mr. Caraballo and Ms. Nicholson, we want to wish you success in the neighborhood. And we want to remind you that we're having our full board meeting next Thursday at 6:15 at Weeksville Center.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
See
good
you
night,
next
everybody.
week.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good
God
night.
bless everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we have our final application, which is, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. Autumn. Autumn, that's on Vanderbilt. So there has been a notice received that they have applied for, or they're at least responding to their 500-foot rule. So that would mean that there's some sort of application process, but they're not present and we have no information for them. So we still need to send a letter that really is strongly worded with regard
Madam
to
Chair?
their lack of presence. Hello?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
hi,
Ms.
this is
Mitchell.
Amy Mitchell. I was just looking on the LAMP website, and it says that they applied for a license February
Yes.
22nd, 2023.
Yes, that's what I'm speaking about. There's been some sort of application. And speaking with them today, it seems like, they said they had their attorney. So it looks like my impression in that conversation is that they really don't know what's going on and that attorney's handling it, being that they have this notice. So they should still come before us. So that process has been bypassed. So we just want to let SLA know that this is what has occurred, and we didn't have any information from them, nor did we have the pleasure of meeting them. So we want to let them know that. Okay.
Madam Chair, I just have a
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
So the SLA has responded to their, I'm just thinking, they've responded to their liquor license without even providing the proper documentation, even coming to the board? That's what that letter
That's what it
states?
appears. So, because it says it's pending. That's what it says, that it's pending. So it's just a little bizarre. But yeah, we have no information, so we don't even know what was submitted.
I just had to find that oddly funny after I had,
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm a reserve.
Particularly how you conduct business. Yes.
Yes.
I do understand, the confusion as to how could that even occur. I get it. Mr. Witherwax and then Mr. Thurton.
Sure.
And then
This
and then Ms. Mitchell. I'm sorry, Ms. Mitchell. I don't know where you came in the order. Just kind
No
of where my
worries,
screen
no
is.
worries.
Okay.
No
All
worries.
right. Thanks.
This happens once every couple of years. So I think what we've done in the past, and I'll go to the books to confirm, is we've sent a letter to the SLA exactly as you're suggesting, saying we can't approve this, and we won't approve it until they come before us. And that usually puts the brakes on and sends them our way. So I'm sure we can find some text. My question for you, Ms. Weatherspoon, is: do you want to vote on it or just kick it back to the board office to handle?
Well, we're all here, so I think we should vote on it. I think that's fine. I mean, we could kick it to the office, but I'd like everyone's input here. Yes or no?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So we can just quickly do the vote on it, and that is to have a letter, send a letter to SLA stating that we won't and can't approve this application because we have no information, and it seems to have bypassed what the process has always been. So I've made that motion. Do I have a second?
One question.
That motion.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Mr. Thurton?
Madam Chair, do we know if construction work has been started at this location?
Well, I was able to peek in, and it's in total disarray.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell?
Oh, I was just going to, it's okay, but I was just going to comment on the fact that, first of all, the application says that they're just awaiting the fingerprint results in terms of pending. So yeah, it's going forward without us. But also my understanding is that even though their businesses are strongly encouraged to consult with the community board, they don't actually have to. Is my understanding correct on that?
No.
Well, there should
No?
be there is a notice, but particularly new licensees should come before us. They should.
But it isn't a requirement, is what I'm saying, though, in terms of the licensing. Is that is that correct?
Well, they have to notify, but we are so accustomed of them coming to us. That is what has been the practice. So, as Mr. Widowax mentioned, this happens ever so often, but it's very infrequent. So the notification is what is mandatory, but it's still, that bypass doesn't feel good.
No,
We
absolutely.
like to meet you.
And when you look at one of the first questions that on the SLA website when one is applying and or renewing a license, one of the first questions that appears, they have a click box of, have you met with the community board yet? Blah, 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 blah. But I was just wanting to stress the point that we have to watch out for that only because businesses are not mandated to do it. I think it's something that they should be mandated to do, but unfortunately they're not.
Right, but we
And
want
I'm
to
hoping that
encourage
the
them as much as
applicant,
possible. Sorry.
right, I still don't want the applicant to turn around and say that, as
Right.
their defense, right? And that's the problem of, anyways, I'm not going to belabor the point. It's just something that I think if we somehow could have that worked on as to the fact that they have to, they should be required. It should be mandatory, not a choice on the part of the business.
I mean, it's something that the most that we can do is enforce it on our side. So, and as I said, I just happened to run into them the hour that I passed. So I absolutely myself would love to encourage and speak to them to come before us. Just let's meet you. Let's, just even if it's a formality at this point, but I'd want them to come to the board to meet us and really have that information. That's what I would like to happen.
Well, I'm just hoping the letter that we write is harsh and, reflects our
give them no 1, 2. That's right.
Our dismal, our
we're
dismay
disappointed.
at this.
We're disappointed.
Yeah.
Yep. We intended to be strongly worded.
Great.
I'll tell you that.
Okay. That was all I needed. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Any other questions before Mr. Widowax takes this vote for us? Mr. Vicconi. Thank you.
Just on that point, this is going to require a 500-foot exception, and doesn't the SLA need a statement? Don't they need a referral from the community board to grant the 500-foot exception?
That's how it's been. Yes. I mean, yeah. So I mean, all of that we want to include in that letter in terms of where we're at right now with this applicant or this application that we don't have.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the letter should be that we don't recommend a 500-foot exception due to failure of the applicant to appear.
I love it.
So okay, Okay, so that's an amendment to what I made a motion to.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't have a problem. No, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So, who
Neither do
seconded me,
I.
please?
Neither do I.
Ms.
Tamika
Gibbs?
Gibbs. Yes, I
Beautiful.
did. Yes.
So that's fine. We put that caveat in there, and I'm fine with that amendment, Mr. Baconi. Anything else? Anyone?
Yes, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
I put in the chat something I've been mulling over for years. I think that it would be helpful for our small business owners and their landlords to work together to access the various tax incentives available from the state, especially. Solar is the first one that comes to mind now. As you likely know, the business owner puts the equipment they need into the building owner's building, and maybe we can help these two parties work together to share the benefits from the supportive tax incentives that the state is offering. So that's something I hope we can take a close look at.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus. It would be helpful, I think, for both parties. Thank you for that. Okay, so do I need to restate, Mr. Whitterwax? Thank you. I see that head shaking. Can we move on to the vote? All right, thank you.
Certainly. So to ask the board office to send the strongly worded, as harsh as Mimi Mitchell wants it to be letter, with the 1-2 punch about the 500 foot and all that. Let me just find, there it is. Gail Branch Muhammad.
Yes.
Thank you. Diane Duke.
Yes.
Thank you. Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Surzima Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Mimi Mitchell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Witherwax. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Roger Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. Fiora Ortiz Joyner.
Yes.
Thank you. Celine Rosado. Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tyus.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Vaconi.
Yes.
Thank you. Yrsa Weatherspoon.
Yes, and Mr. Sato
Thank you.
has left.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sharon Wedderburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax. Yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 14 in favor.
Excellent. Thank you so much, team. Do we have any questions before we depart? Any? Okay. We'll hope to see you all at the board meeting next week, Thursday. Have a good, oh wait, there's a hand up there. Can you tell me who you are?
Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm here at the meeting because I thought that we were going to be discussing Finn's Corner's backyard as well.
Yeah, that's not on our agenda, so we weren't. I believe that they're even renewed already, so we don't have that on the agenda. But please let us know why you're here.
I guess so they opened up the backyard again. They got renewed. I've been in the building for 20 years and was organizing all the letters that came in to shut down the backyard. And now it's operating again. They've been operating past 10 o'clock. It's very loud. There is like a Grand Canyon effect that like people are screaming at our windows. It's a sports bar and they have televisions on the outside. And sports fans are at our windows, screaming at the top of their lungs about their favorite teams.
This is going on in the backyard?
That's right. And they were recently, quote, approved for this backyard, which they were operating illegally before without approval. I don't understand how they got approval for this. It was such a nightmare before, and I'm just really sad that it's starting again. I'm very happy to continue to organize, to get more letters in so that people, you know, the board understands that it's just a blight in the neighborhood. I have another neighbor on this Zoom call as well. But I just wanted to know the process of revoking it. What can we do?
Well,
I'm
we excuse me. Hello?
terribly sorry. I'm the other neighbor.
Okay, I'll get to you in a moment.
Okay.
We are an advisory committee. We don't have the power to revoke a license. These letters, before I even continue with that, have you been in contact with the owners or the managers of this establishment?
I have in the past, but they are ridiculously hostile towards me, and I don't feel comfortable talking to them directly. If you look at their Yelp reviews, you can see that there has been altercations in the bar, homophobic remarks. It's just a nightmare. Yeah, I've had their patrons block the entrance to our building in the summertime. It's just a whole bunch of drunk sports fans. It's very difficult. And I spent years trying to get them to just turn off the sound that was on the televisions, and they refused to do it. They have no interest in being a part of the community. I don't know what to say. I've several people in the building have moved out because of the noise. I'm always in contact with people on the block who are saying that it is, again, like a blight, that they want to move out, like that they can't stand it, etc.
Okay, let me ask you: Have you or any of the neighbors that are affected, have you made any calls to 311? Have you created a record?
So this has been, so they've reopened the backyard for a week, and so I haven't made any 311 calls. I thought that didn't get back to you, but I definitely will if that's a way to go to, say when they're operating. Also, they're operating after hours and private parties and playing loud music. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't understand how it got approved in the first, after they were operating illegally in the backyard, that they got approval for it. It's just shocking. So.
Okay, well, we are very sorry to hear about how it's affected you negatively, but please start making the 311 calls, because you need to create a record of these disturbances and gather your letters. And again, we can't revoke a license, but you certainly can forward your concerns to SLA. Well, I have a few people. I know there's Miss Newman. Miss Newman, before you speak, I just want to get a couple of the other hands. Mr. Witherwax, just a couple of the of our members, and then I'm going to get back to you, Mr. Witherwax.
So just so we're clear, this is 660 Washington Avenue, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Finn's Corner, formerly the St. Catherine.
Yeah.
So they've had just to give some history here. They did have the right to use the backyard. Then there was a change of ownership, and the backyard was abused, and it was taken away. And then they came back to us last summer for a renewal, and the backyard was put back in, provided they abided by our very reasonable guidelines that we apply to every licensee in the district, which includes two things: no outdoor amplified sound, which would certainly a TV would qualify, and close your backyard by 10 p.m. on the weekdays, 11 p.m. on the weeknights. So if you can document that they are not abiding by either of those criteria, show us. It sounds like you can. I'm not trying to put it to you and sort of be antagonistic. I'm just saying, bring that to us.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but it was my understanding, because I was around before when, Finn's Corner had the other hearings, and they were operating illegally, and St. Catherine's never did have a license. I was friends with their owner. The
We
main
did
issue
approve a
too
license for the
is
backyard. Whether they
also
followed through with it is a second question, but we did approve it. And we
so
gave very specific terms.
the other main issue that I think is very specific to this bar is sports fans screaming at the windows. It's not just like a bar where people are chatting, or even just, you know, having a good time. It is extraordinarily loud, and it's not like a consistent buzz. It's people screaming. It's horrifying, which was spelled out before. And yeah, I'm just extraordinarily disappointed that they regained or got any kind of access to the backyard after how they have behaved to the community in the past, and the fact that it doesn't seem to mesh with their clientele to behave in the backyard. Anyways.
Okay, thank you. I just want to go to Mr. Vacconi and then Ms. Newman, after Mr. Vacconi, and then Ms. Mitchell. Thank you.
Just to amplify what Mr. Witherwack said, I think your most important move is to be able to write to the SLA citing the requirements of their liquor license in the backyard and tell them that they're not complying. The SLA is are the ones who are charged with enforcement, and especially if you have other neighbors who are all witnessing the same thing as a group. You should write to the SLA and perhaps even request a meeting to talk about the situation, because they are the ones who are in a position to enforce the terms of the liquor license the proprietors have agreed to.
Thank you for that, Mr. Vacconi. Actually, you and Rob reinforcing what I said in terms of reporting to SLA. Ms. Newman, and then Ms. Mitchell. Thank you.
Hi, I was wondering about so there is a roof that covers maybe a little bit close to 80% of the backyard, and it is creating very weird acoustics. I can hear, like, they were playing Janet Jackson. The group of men were discussing fornicating with Janet Jackson. So it's like the conversations are happening in my apartment. Is there anything we can do to encourage soundproofing?
Well, I mean, that can be encouraged if there's a relationship. We have to be able to connect with the owners to have a conversation with the residents. So that is something. I mean, we can reach out and try to have, you know, try to help you start that conversation. But that is as much as we can do. But I will include all. If I were you, I would include what you just said.
Okay.
You know, I would include all of that. The SLA would need to hear a list of those things. At least they should.
Okay.
Okay. Anything further that you want us to add, Ms. Newman, that we haven't heard?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Ms. Mitchell.
Hi, good evening. First things first, I would like to remind you all that when we were talking about that backyard application, I had some strong concerns. Yes, Mr. Witherwax, I see you smiling. I did have some strong concerns about their application in general. I also did want to say that, yes, being in the neighborhood, I have seen, I can't speak to the back, but I can definitely speak to the bar and the front. It is crazy loud. Mind you, I was walking by. I think it was St. Patrick's. So of course all the bars were loud. So I don't want to like judge it on that. But yeah, I wondered how the neighbors were dealing with it. So to the neighbors that are on the call to, that are in this meeting tonight. Number one, unfortunately, when we were discussing as a committee, when we were discussing their application, you guys weren't here. And therefore, we weren't hearing any of this. So at that time, we only have the proprietor to talk to. And of course, he's going to tell us, you know, all great things, right? Had we had you here and we could have maybe worked something out or done something. And I'm saying this all from very, very, as this committee knows, personal experience. I live in the same type of situation. I totally get what you mean when you say it's like it's in your living room. I go through the exact same thing. Even with your windows closed, even with the TV up, you're like still hearing everything. You may as well just be at the bar itself. As the advice that you've been given so far is excellent, and it is what helped me in my situation. The biggest thing I would say is to document, document, document. So, great for instance is if the backyard is supposed to be closed at 10 and they're still out there at 10:15, take your phone, put the TV to a channel that has a time like the news or something. Get that TV screen and then videotape. Record the back and the noise level. Do that consistently, like literally every time that they do it. At the same time, continually call 311, and then also contact the SLA. So with these things in mind and in hand, we can hopefully, when their next renewal comes up, we can actually refer to all of these complaints, and as a committee, we will try our best to assist you. Thank you. Good night.
Hi, I just like to respond a second. So we weren't, I had no reason to believe that the backyard would be reopened. That's why there hasn't been any complaints. And also I did spend over a year organizing and documenting, and that's why it's so incredibly, when they were in the backyard, that's why it's so incredibly stressful to have this happen again. I appreciate your advice to document, and that is what we will do. I think that's the only thing we can. But again, I can't emphasize enough how stressful this is, and the fact that many people wrote in letters about fins, and there was no like email blast about how they were coming up for this backyard permit again, or their liquor license, or anything. So the way communication happens is difficult.
Mr. Witterbacks, did you have something to say? Your hand's up. Your hand. You're muted.
Just to add to the history, I have a letter in the file that the board sent to the proprietors of Finn's Corner in October of 2019. We've been down this road before to see everything that, I forget your name, I'm sorry, OB, has said that they've been operating an outdoor space in the rear of the property, complete with televisions and amplified sound. We didn't approve this. Please cease and desist. And we CC'd the SLA. So I would be happy to, again, provided that documentation is provided to us, we would certainly put forth a letter to support your discussions with the SLA. We've done it before, we can do it again.
I guess I just, it's frustrating because I'm afraid that, if this happens again, like a back and forth. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like that's what's happening right now, where like I didn't expect at all that they would be allowed in the backyard, and it's just surprising that it happened. So I don't like how can that be fixed too? Or
it's a tough position, right? They are running a business. They have a lease that entitles them to use the yard. And as we've said, right, the state liquor authority is in the business of granting businesses the privilege to serve liquor in their spaces, right? And it's we have to give the benefit of the doubt, hopefully not too often, but they came to us and said we're going to be good at this, and we approved the renewal. Again, with those parameters that were reasonable, which include there's also a reasonability factor, right? Loud noise that's too loud at noon is unacceptable. That's always going to be the case. But after 10 and after 11, it should be silent.
Thank you, Mr. Witherwax. Okay, so I will say that the district office will try to contact the proprietors and see how we can connect with you guys and them to try to work something out. But meanwhile, document. The advice that we've given you does not change because we're trying to at least get you guys in some sort of conversation. Please continue to do what you're doing and the additional information that we have suggested that you do. Okay?
Okay, I would say if you're going to be in touch with them, then I would definitely also mention that if the TVs were turned off, that would not give people a reason to scream at the windows. And that
Well, we know
would
what
be great.
we know. I don't mean to cut across you, Olivia. We know what we're going to say. You
Okay.
have stated all of the things that are concerned, which are important and really does interfere with peace and quiet. So we will know what to say to them.
Thank you.
What's important that we want to connect you and them so you can have a moment to speak to them as well. Some sort of mediation, some sort of discussion, because that's not happening now, and that should at least be happening. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions? There's a neighbor.
Yes,
Your name is up.
I'm also a neighbor of Finn's Corner, and the problem
And
that
hold 1 second. What's your name, please?
my name is Eliza, and
Okay.
I didn't want to put my name because it is an extremely contentious relationship that we all have with the owners because they have no respect for our desire for a livable circumstance. Whether the TVs are on or not, there's a pool table back there, and so that is another real aspect of the loudness. As people are drinking and being in competition, they get extremely loud. But I think while I appreciate the saying that you will put us in touch, it's not comfortable for the neighbors who live in the building to talk to the owners. They are just not at all understanding about how this affects us. They really, really don't care. So I wish that seemed like it would help. And I'll also say I am very disappointed to know that we missed our opportunity to speak when their license came up. I don't think any of us were aware that we missed a meeting, and we all feel extremely strongly about this. That's why everybody in the building is on this call that is facing this part of the that faces the back of the building. But I just wanted to, I don't know how we would have known that their license was up. And if it was up to them to tell us, they did not do any sort of, they did not do a good job letting us know. So I just wanted to both state that it's not just the television, it's also there's games back there. And they have, even if they're not playing amplified music, many of their patrons play their own music. They bring speakers and play music out there. And just from my perspective, I live directly above them. So they also play music past 4 a.m. constantly. And I am constantly having to tell them to be quiet. And so I know I'm not the only person who lives above a bar, but they are just the worst neighbors. So I just wanted to make that known for the record as well.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you for that information. I'm going to go to Ms. Gibbs, please.
Good evening, again, everyone. To the residents of the building, the city does, if you contact 311 and make those complaints, as well as contact your precinct, there is the city offers a moderator service between businesses and residents to kind of work with that relationship, because it sounds like it has broken down over time, and you're not the first person that this happened to. I strongly recommend you reach out to your local precinct. You're on Vanderbilt, so are you 77 or 78?
78.
We're 660 Washington.
No, what's your precinct? Your local precinct.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
This is Washington Avenue. It's a 77.
Okay, reach out to 77, the community affairs, and they will actually help moderate the relationship between the building residents as well as the business owner to come to some kind of medium of the situation. I am the board member of this committee as well as a business owner who have a liquor license in this committee. I don't want you to ever, it has to be posted outside of the establishment when they come up for renewal. Also, when we have our meetings, just like y'all came to this meeting, it's posted on our agenda as well. So if I don't know how you ended up here, but it's always posted. Keep up with that and work with that because the 77 precinct does have a moderator that they do offer services for businesses. We do not, like Mr. Witherwack says, no amplified sound. So if they have amplified, like that's one of the first things to go outside because you can't have it outside because noise. People live around here. So I don't want you to ever feel any kind of slightation of being slighted or being disrespected with the noise outside. We never, the committee never approves of that. But please reach out to the 77 precinct with the community affairs officer. And I highly recommend all of you in this building download the 311 app. You have a record of it. It's a computerized record of it. Had these records been done when they came up for renewal, the 77 precinct is always online for our renewals. If there's a problem at the establishment, a long history, a documented history, we would have known about it. They would have came to the board, and this could have been addressed. So I don't know. They just renewed. It said 2 years from now, if you start that case and keep it going, hopefully we get to a point to where it can lessen. But if you have those records of 311 and work on it, we can come to either a better relationship and make it better for everyone in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. And finally, Mr. Witherwack.
Yeah, just a few things. First of all, I'm sorry. Tonight's the NCAA championship. Game doesn't start till 9:30, so sorry about that. Second, are you all in the same building?
Wow, and yes.
And is it the same building that the premises is in?
Yes.
So it's the same landlord?
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. You see where I'm going? Okay, that's a point of leverage.
Yes, we generally talked to the landlord as well, and she wants to stay out of it, basically.
Yeah, well, don't let her. Third point is I'm going to give you a date, which is February 28th, 2025. That may seem a long time from now. That is when they are up for, that is the expiration of their 2-year license.
I cannot express how angry I am right now because I spent 2 years prior getting people to write in letters and to do the 311 calls, and I don't understand how we weren't, notified how this happened, how we can't go back on this. If you look at the history of the dealings with Finns, there are so many letters that came in to complain about them and their noise before.
Let me play devil's advocate. You all could have moved. The problem could have been solved. There is any number of reasons why we wouldn't have known that the problem still persisted in the absence of somebody turning up and saying, yeah, they're still doing what they've always done. That being said, 6 months ahead of the end of February of 2025, so summer of 2024, the letter writing campaign in earnest if they're still doing this. We're not going to let this lie. We're going to support you. Just send us the documentation. We'll reach out to the SLA like we've done before. We'll support you. But that's the end game for you too. You wanted to know when they're up. It's February 2025. So start with us early.
Okay, thank you. So we are moving to the end of our meeting. There are 2 more questions out there. Ms. Tyus and I see Ms. Mitchell. Can we make that brief, please? Ms. Tyus?
Yes, really brief. I just want to reiterate what Viv and Robert have said, especially regarding Finn's Corner sharing a landlord with the residential tenants at 660 Washington. There's a hell of a lot of leverage there because the multiple dwelling law specifically entitles residents to peace and quiet. And if the landlord is trying to turn a blind ear, a deaf ear, to this conundrum, that landlord can't be permitted to do that. So this decision doesn't only rest with the SLA. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell.
Okay. Yeah, I know you want me to keep it brief. Mr. Witherwax, I'm sorry, as a fellow committee member, I'm going to ask you to hopefully apologize for our community members for saying, hey, if you didn't like the sound, you could move. It's just inappropriate. It's just an inappropriate answer.
I was saying we didn't know whether they had moved or not.
Had moved, yes, but you also said that
they might have moved.
Okay, we will. That isn't all you said, sir, but that's okay. The point really that I'm trying to make, and this is for all the committee members, is that for renters, it's not so easy for us to move because we don't like a situation. And in terms of like the landlord, if a landlord says that they don't want to get involved, they don't want to get involved. The next thing that the tenant can't really do much except for withhold rent. It puts them into a situation now that it takes them to landlord-tenant court. Now they have a non-payment record. They have a non-payment case on their record, which is going to affect them for future rentals. So in that sense, I know that it sounds like by the law, it does sound like the landlord should and would be able to help, but I'm letting you guys know as a renter that doesn't quite work out the way that it should. So the tenants are probably the best that they could possibly do maybe is just band together and all withhold rent at the same time. That might work, but as an individual on an individual basis, that isn't going to work in their favor. Just because, yeah, it's just not a comfortable position. So, anyways, though, like I said, I'm glad, community members, that you did come out tonight. Unfortunately, this happened in February. I don't know why you weren't contacted or why you don't know. I suspect it's because Finn's Corner probably did not put up the correct noticing to let their neighbors and tenants know what was going on, to come out and speak on this. But unless we had that, there's nothing that we can do. So the documentation is really important because, okay, well, one second, let me. The documentation is really important because then we would have had the amount of 311 calls and we would have been able to see the amount of 311 calls which would have come through. And that is what the officers do that for renewals. When there is a business that has several 311 calls, especially for the same things like loud noise, loud talking, etc., open after hours, they do bring that to the community board, and that is one of the things that we weigh in recommending to renew or deny an application. But ultimately, the renewal is on the SLA. We, as a community board, as a committee, do not renew and deny applications. We can only support and not support them. Anyways, thank you. Good night.
Mr. Vacconi?
You know, the discussion here about the landlord just prompted me to ask this question. Are the tenants, do the tenants in these buildings that abut the backyard have rent stabilized leases?
Yes.
Have you considered, you if you want to get to the landlord, you could potentially make the noise in the backyard. I think it might be possible for you to make that an issue with the Department of Housing and Community Renewal at the state level as a rent stabilization problem. The landlord's effectively
It's not
correct.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gib.
No, hey, it's okay. Just let me finish what I'm just let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because the landlord's potentially abetting an environment that's like maybe constructive eviction, trying to get you removed from the building because of an intolerable situation outside. Have you spoken at all to advocates like legal aid who might be able to advise you on that?
No, I wasn't aware of legal aid. We will definitely do that in our further organization. And thank you for that suggestion about the Department of Housing, because tenants have left based on the noise coming.
Yeah, no, that's real. The landlord can't. Landlords are not allowed to allow a situation like that to go on to force you to leave your apartment.
Right.
If it's a yeah, especially in the case of a rent stabilized lease. You know, I would say, I mean, it's another, you know, it's a state bureaucracy. There's a little bit of overhead in dealing with something like that, but I would suggest you contact the Department of the DHCR, the state DHCR, Department of Housing Community Renewal, and contact Legal Aid of Brooklyn as well. See if you can speak to one of their housing advocates, and get some advice.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, thank you. We've given suggestions of tenants that are on this call, and we hope that you can pull that together as much as you can. And of course, the 311s you have to start right now. And we will reach out. The district office will reach out to FINS anyway, because I just think that we ought to do that. I know that your relationship has not been good, but we will reach out to them anyway. So I thank you all for being here, and for although they were not on the agenda, that you had your opportunity to really express what is going on, because we, for one, were not aware. So I thank you for being here and raising your voices. So if there's nothing further, I will say goodnight to everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Madam Matthias has her hand up.
Yeah,
Madam
one
Chair.
last question. I put it in the chat already. Neighborhood Housing Services also provides legal services, and they can ask the court to withhold the rent. Thank you. And good night.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus. Good night. Thank you.
I was about to say something.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, numbers in the chat.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.